Okay, so today I'm gonna read you my big Shadow Vanilla draft I've been working on for a while. It's not anywhere near done. This might be like a multiple part type thing I do here on YouTube. Whoa! I don't know what that is. That's just like you get the point. And let me get into reading it now. Due to the long, arduous trip he had endured, he felt as though his limbs may fall off at any given time. His soft dough had long since gained scratches and bruises as he began traversing Beastiest. Despite the fact this was his second time exploring Beastiest, he still had a rather difficult time doing so, his murky vision at fault. He decided after their lost encounter in which Shadowmoke had disappeared from the spire without a trace, and left it crumbling down into ruins upon Pure Vanilla and the three brave young cookies, that he'd return to Beasties for one simple purpose, to find the Beast of Deceit. Even with the pleas and cries from the three cookies for Pure Vanilla to stay with them, he set out again, and well, now he's here, lost in the wilderness of Beasties. He had run into many things so far, things he hadn't expected to run into in the slightest. He came across many illusions. I know how to speak English, guys. I'm gonna cut some of this out when I'm editing. But not your typical kind. These were of resentful, angry shadows, dreary and bleak, remnants of a once great kingdom. Of course, Pure Vanilla knew Shadowmoke had once been very influential upon all the cookies of Earthbred before he fell from grace and was imprisoned in the Silver Tree. However, he had no thought in his mind that Shadowmoke used to be a king. He especially had not thought this no longer existing kingdom would have been one of great prosperity and much joy in its prime. An even bigger surprise when he had found out Shadowmoke Cookie used to be the fount of knowledge back in the Beast Spire. It was quite a shock to him that his current name was not his given name. Shadowmoke Cookie was once Blueberry Milk Cookie, the king of the Blueberry Kingdom. Now, one may be curious as to why these hallucinations, these mere mirages, would be resentful despite how blithesome the echoes of them were. But these happy flashes, when viewed for even a millisecond longer, would show a terrible, tragic blink of how it had all come to ruin. Once a courtyard where the children played, now a body of cookie carcasses. Futures dashed by chaos and jamshed. They began a game of frivolous tag, which concluded in a grave manner. Juveniles scampering away, disoriented, swinging from side to side, praying to the witches in hope of survival, only to be met with a cruel, hideous death from surrounding explosions. He was beside himself, completely hysterical. How had Shadowmoke gone from caring about even the smallest hair on his loyal subjects' heads to slaughtering them all mercilessly without so much as a moment of musing? It was something he struggled to understand, even as a side-event king himself. By what means had he descended into such a madness so rapidly? It was a question the purblind cookie would need to discover the answer to if he ever hoped to save Shadowmoke from his own insanity. They were so alike. As he saw more and more of these misty images in the forest displayed for him, he realized that they indeed were soulmates, even aside from the link their soul gems provided. Shadowmoke was alone, just like him. He wept a sea of tears before bed each night, even as Blueberry Milk, constantly given praise, admiration, devotion. It was all empty and meaningless in the end. The cookies wanted his success, his power, his knowledge. They held little regard for him as a person. None ever bothered to spend time with him for any purposes other than their own. They were selfish, greedy, waiting for the perfect moment to steal everything he'd toiled away for. He'd only wanted to provide for the common good of all cookies, but their jealousy began to poison him, and he felt as though he would soon perish by their hands. Everyone knows a kingdom's downfall often happens from a king becoming too trusting of other people. Thus, he began to lie to cookies who asked him about poisons to avoid, materials that were harmful, animals that were ferocious, and other similar matters. As a result, many of his faithful subjects contracted deadly conditions. Some were bitten by carnivorous pancake mushrooms, resulting in them losing too much strawberry jam and bleeding out. Some are infected by candy saps and their minds are lost to the fungi who now control their bodies. Others are cornered by yeast spores, killed and devoured, never to be seen again by any other cookies. As the subjects crumbled one by one due to his misinformation, his doubt, his deceit, he lost his mind to madness and began slaughtering the rest of the cookies who used to commend him. Strawberry jam everywhere, cookie crumbs, icings torn to shreds. In the center of it all was not Blueberry Milk Cookie anymore, but Shadow Milk Cookie, puppeteering his once loyal cookie followers to turn on each other and cause great wars. It was burning, terribly bright, blinding, and then it was dark, much too dark, and suddenly Silver enraptured the beasts and sealed them away, growing into a large and glorious tree around them. Their physical forms were gone, no longer confined to tough dough. Their souls constricted in the silver prison as cheers of cookies and celebrations, parties, and feasts occurred outside their reach in honor of imprisoning them. Even with all the devastation and suffering they brought upon Earthbread, and inflicted onto other cookies without a moment's discrimination, Pure Vanilla still felt as though a fate this cruel was undeserved. While their actions most certainly had not been proper, kind, or morally correct in the slightest, this punishment was still much too awful for any cookie. The idea that a single cookie, much less 5, could possibly be warranted for such a callous, wicked, nasty, sadistic discipline was disconcerting to the mellow and sweet cookie. He felt a sad twinge in his heart, his face drooping into a frown, eyes weighted down by sorrow, and brows drawn together in something akin to despondency. A pang of misery struck excitement, sung in his soul jam, and he felt hands gently caress his love handles, arms resting just above his waist and chest pressed to his back. Sorry, that part makes me giggle. I know I wrote it, but that's still, it still makes me giggle a bit. Anyway, back to the reading, my bad gang. A bitter and tangy scent that his senses sharpened at, a coldness unhospitable and biting, a flamboyant voice harsh in his ears. What did you see? He turned around, a familiar snarl greeting him, one he instantly recognized as Shadowmilk's, bringing a smile to his face, a perk to his brows, and an open glimmer to his eyes. The voice grew more hostile. What did you see, Vanilli? What did you see? What did you see? What did you see? A cutting breath was drawn before his voice quieted, and he whispered into the other's ear in a sing-song voice. Did you see a monster? A beast? He asked, a low growl of displeasure pouring from his perked lips. When I read that part to my friends, they legit just kept growling, like animal growls, to the point where I was like, guys, shut up. I'm trying to read you my draft. Stop growling, please. That's not fully related. Anyway, back to reading. Back to reading. I saw a cookie who was unloved. Shadowmilk's expression darkens, his brows flying up before they settle back down and find purchase neatly furrowed together. Unloved? Unloved! He practically spat the word as if it was poison. I was not unloved. I was very adored. I was not unloved, whatever else your delusional brain believes I was. He digs his nails into the place where they had been resting and pulls, tearing the fabric there as he snarls again, an ugly animalistic noise. Again, my friends would not stop making animal fucking growls and snarls. When I read that part, like, dude, shut up, let me read, holy crap. I'm not with them right now, I'm just like, I read it to them. Anyway, back to the reading. I was the most adored cookie in all of Earthbread. Something your common, plain, lacking vanilla self could never comprehend no matter how many countless times the facts are presented to you. He begins ascending upwards with Pure Vanilla in tow, his grip on him remaining the same as it was before as they hover higher into the air, near the thick veil of the treetops. Pure Vanilla startles for a moment as they suddenly lose ground, soaring higher and higher at a rapid pace he hadn't expected. He shrieked and tried to escape Shadowmilk's grasp, causing the other's hands to change into claws and sink into his hips. Pure Vanilla screamed again and stopped trying to flee, realizing it hadn't been a smart idea in the first place now that he could feel sharp pain and strawberry jam oozing from his hips. Even if he had managed to get free from the beast's reach, he would have only plummeted to his demise and crumbled. All the while, as Pure Vanilla felt this agony so visibly, Shadowmoke was sneering an ugly, twisted grin on his face that disappeared quickly when the vanilla-scented man calmed and a small, sweet smile crept back onto his lips. "What are you smiling about, you senile old man?" The man who smells like sour berries asked in an aggressive hiss of breath. "I'm smiling because the view from this high is so gorgeous. It allows me to take my time and appreciate the wonders of beasties from a safe distance. I can see why you and your comrades continue to live here, despite the dangers. Even when dangerous, nature is still so beautiful." Pure Vanilla lets out a soft sigh. His gaze turning to Shadowmoke's, a certain gentle fondness could be found in them. It made Shadowmoke sick. He wanted to hurl every time Pure Vanilla looked at him with such open affection and tenderness. It was disgusting how the other could adore him so despite the damage he'd inflicted upon not only his friends, but him. How could he forgive a deceitful beast so easily with such disregard for his own self or emotions? It was careless, stupid, and so fascinating. Pure Vanilla never ceased to intrigue and interest Shadowmoke time after time. He could attempt to crumple the man however much he wished, in any manner that pleased him, and the other would simply get back up again, forgive him, and then allow himself to be hurt over and over in an endless cycle of torture, suffering, and pain. It infuriated him how easily he could trust, because he himself could never trust anyone again after that fateful day Silver had descended upon him and sealed him away in a suffocating darkness that strangled him, blinded him, took away his senses and everything else he used to possess. The day that infernal command had been croaked from the witches' awful throats, ripped through the air, sent fire ablaze and cookies against him. The moment perdition had been deemed worthy for the weight of Shadowmoke and the other beast's sins. Despite the presence of the other four souls, he was alone and afraid. He couldn't feel or touch. He couldn't move. He was only capable of listening to the infernal rallying of the vindictive and selfish fairy cookies. For years, he lost the ability to even count. The sounds of his captors were all he had to keep away from insanity. Then he saw a crack in the barrier and ripped through it desperately. He pulled and grabbed it in hopes that he could escape. It was all he had wanted for such a grand sum of time, and this was a golden opportunity rearing its head, baring its fangs, as if it was challenging Shadowmoke, daring him to do something. And having the audacity to provoke him, of all the beasts, was its mistake. He tore through the pitiful excuse of a defensive line, and painted the mundane, monotone land in his wonder and calamity. He had thought it suited the place much better, but a few cookies of whom hadn't taken color in flight in his amazing illusions just as the crowd had, stared him down, raised their voices, stumbled into messy provocation of Shadowmoke. In an instant, Crumbs replaced one of them, the elder of the fairies, the king and guardian of the seal, now nothing but paltry remnants. That was the first time he had ever gotten to lay his eyes upon the cookie now bearing his soul gem in person. The beauty of the vanilla-scented confection had almost made him swoon internally, curiosity swelling inside of him as blonde lashes fluttered. Then milky blue and yellow eyes stared up at him through the curtain of his soft, wafer-colored hair cascading in front of them. All of his attention was solely focused on Shadowmoke as they locked gazes, an expression of twisted enchantment present on his face as his lips jeered upwards into a crescent. He felt the urge to lunge forward at the vanillian cookie and pin his wrists together above his head, bear down on him with bewitched touches all over his form. It was as if the sight had awoken something inside him, lit a fire that burned underneath him and made him reek a stench of excited desire. Just looking back at the memory made a shiver roll down his spine and a fresh warmth burned inside of his stomach, a slight blue flush blooming on his If Pure Vanilla had noticed the subtle change in Shadowmilk's demeanor, he hadn't said anything about it. The other's smile did not falter from his face. His tenebrous stare remained fixed on the beast. Why do you... Oh, shit. Oh, I'm gonna get demonetized. Said swear word. 100. I should get demonetized. I should be good, gang. I just realized, like, I swear, because I realized, that is not a narrating part, that is a Shadowmilk part. I need to, yeah. Anyway, back to the weeding. Blah. Yeah, back to the weeding.
The screen recorder captures my voice, too.
Why do you think we hate you all so much?
I have, like, 2 other videos.
Answer me, Pure Vanilla. Why do we beasts hate you ancients with all the jam in our bodies? I don't have the best impression of either of them, by the way, as you've noticed throughout the rating. I like doing it because it's fun. Anyway, going back.
I thought you already had him.
I'm not editing any of this. Like, I don't care if I said earlier in this I was editing crap out. I'm not editing it out. The bloopers are part of the charm. Back to the weeding. Pure Vanilla's smile falls for a moment and he pauses. Then a tiny fraction of the grin returns to his face, and he responds with a serene voice. Smooth as boiled hot liquid sugar.
Yeah, that reminds me, like,
you hate us all because we took something from you. To us, we feel as though we've earned them. But to you all, we may as well have ripped it from your hands ourselves. We went through trials to gain their power, yet to you beasts, we have only played the part of the fool and falsely declared ownership of them. Shadowmilk clicks his tongue and rolls his eyes in irritation. It isn't simply our perspective on this matter. It's exactly what happened. You thieving scoundrels stole away with half of our soul gems. You don't deserve them.
Because I'm pulling in the sea.
Perhaps.
Gacha.
He starts.
Oh wait, and I haven't claimed
you may be
the
right
first
in your
purchase that
assumption.
you get.
However, it changes not the fact that they remain in our custody. Despite this, amongst my peers, I seem to be the only one who wishes not to covet the half in your care. I simply wish for you to become my companion.
20 more. I love gambling.
They come to sit on a cloud, and Shadowmilk averts his gaze as he holds Pure Vanilla closer to him. Oh, close to him. Shifting the younger man to intertwine their legs together. Perhaps, he starts mimicking the other, I wish to accept such fellowship from you alone. Pure Vanilla's eyes open, disbelief painting his face momentarily before hope glistens and shines in his beautiful irises. They share a look for a moment, one of silent understanding, fondness, gentleness. Pure Vanilla slowly, carefully reaches his hand to brush against Shadowmilk's cheek softly, not imposing or demanding, only tender. Shadowmilk stiffens for a moment, not used to the touch of another's dough on his. It had been so long since he'd made contact with another cookie.
Well...
The eons in the tree had made him grow skittish. He gradually assuages to the... Sorry, I messed up. We gotta go ball. I know this is nowhere near a perfect reading of my draft. I am just having fun with it, and there's bloopers in it. Bloopers is part of the charm. Except they're not kind of, I don't know, they're kind of not bloopers because I'm not putting them at the end. You know what I mean. Whatever. Back to the weeding. Oh, what
that's a lame pull. That's that bad costume.
I'm so normal, guys. I'm like talking and reading as if you're one of my friends. I'm sorry if that's weird. I don't do YouTube for anyone else. Like, it's for myself. It's for my fun. So bear with it. If you like me yapping and also reading, yeah, that's that's my target audience. This is almost 20 minutes long. Holy crap. Back to the reading. He gradually assuages the sensation, allowing himself to be caressed by the other freely. Though he was obviously still on edge, he was relenting in his doubt, his suspicion.
No, because I just got prune juices.
Pure Vanilla noticed the other's intense emotions dwindling into something more serene and moved his hand to cup his still flushed face. Then he waited. He wasn't rushing this. He wanted Shadowmilk to take as much time as he needed. He wouldn't persuade or pressure him into anything, only stand by until he was cued to perform with Shadowmilk in a harmonious ballad of their swelling emotions for each other. That's the reading. Yay! I probably could have shaved this down to 15 minutes if I didn't have all the random yapping, but like...
Oh my god!
I'm some cutie, yeah! You're a cutie patootie, yeah! I cannot.
Gotcha.
I am very good at writing. As you can tell, speech, not so much. English is my first and only language, and I still suck. Anyway,
Oh wait, and I still.
that was that. If you guys like it,
Still can do more too.
let me know. I mean, I don't really care. Either way, I'm gonna keep posting more of this as I write it.
Save those for
But
last.
it's still nice to hear
Please, the
feedback.
chance is up for these. I need my
yeah.
beautiful.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. You know,
My pretty.
you're copying like Rebecca. Rebecca Parham's.
Normal.
Thank you, my explainers and entertainers, for tuning in. But I'm gonna tune out. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm normal.
I don't know.
Sure.
I'll come up with an intro and outro eventually. But yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Bye-bye.